Burgundy Ballers, welcome back to another episode of the Ballin and Burgundy podcast. And y'all, it is a celebratory episode. Y'all know the news. We're recording the night, literally hours after the meeting. We're recording this literally Thursday night. So we're 6 hours removed from the meeting, 5 hours removed from the meeting. We got some stuff to talk about. We got some training camp coming up. I got two guests. I got my guy Chris from Cup Check Sports Talk over on YouTube and Instagram. And we got a former basketball player in the building, turned YouTuber, over here on YouTube. He is a big time guy here in the Washington just sports talk community. The one, the only Ed Oliver. Guys, what's going on?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me on. Great day today.
Chris, what's up? Guys, it is celebratory. We didn't think we would see the day, but God has answered our prayers. He is good all the time. All the time, he is good, and he has answered it. Before we get into anything, guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe here on the video and on the channel. And I'll put all the links to Ed's channels, to his Instagram, same thing for Chris, his YouTube, and his Instagram, all down the subscription. Y'all go like, subscribe, follow all of them over on their socials. But let's get into it. 31-0, unanimous vote to get Stan Snyder the hell out of Washington. Josh Harris, Irvin Magic Johnson, and the crew are now the owners, minority and majority owners of the Washington Commanders. $6.05 billion. As Josh put it, is a new era here in Washington. How do y'all feel?
I love it, man. He already bought fans beer at the Burgundy and Soul party at the Nats bullpen, so that's a great start. But yeah, Dan, for him to own the team for 20 plus years, and the last time we won a playoff game was in 2005. And then the last thing for Dan, he gets slapped with a $60 million fine. I know he's just swimming in money anyway, so he probably doesn't really care. But yeah, it just shows sexual harassment and ticket fraud, ticket sales fraud. It was time for Dan to go, so it's about time. So I know people are going crazy at the Nats bullpen. There's a pep rally tomorrow. They're calling it a training camp pet rally, but we all know that it's really just a party just for Dan getting kicked out and us getting a new owner in Josh Harris. So it's a lot of excitement. There's still a long way to go for the franchise. We got to see what we got in Sam, Eric Bieniemy this year. So it's a big year for those guys. See what they can do, and then move forward with new ownership of Josh Harris, Magic Johnson. That's awesome to have a figure and just a face, a national known, popular basketball Hall of Fame player in Magic Johnson. And Josh Harris has done a solid job with the Sixers and the New Jersey Devils. So we got some guys that are grown-ups that we don't have to worry about with a charge or some type of sexual harassment or some type of ticket fraud thing. Every week we heard something about Dan Snyder with legal problems. So it's about time we got some real guys in the front office, are real guys that own the team. So I'm excited for Washington fans to celebrate, man. It's been a long time coming. I thought I'd never see the day, but we're here now, and it's surreal. It really is. So, but we got a long way to go, man. We still got to win games. Week one should be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited for week one.
Week one should be interesting. Chris, how do you feel when you heard the news?
Oh my God. I literally, I was praising the Lord, praising him, because Dan Snyder is gone. Ain't got to deal with it no more. Like Ed said, week one should be a packed house. And I seen Antonio Gibson's Instagram saying, I need everybody to be there week one, calling out, Washington fans. So we better see that come week one,
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm glad Dan Snyder's gone. Hopefully we get to see a winning organization again, or at least for my lifetime. But yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it was crazy because I was, right before news broke, I was on with Real Robinson because he was on his big live stream of the meet. I don't know if y'all saw, but he was getting on with fans saying, what you think, how'd you get on this organization? I hopped on for about 30, 45 seconds, giving my piece, and he and I, we were getting hyped saying, we can't believe this. Because I'm 21. I've been a fan for at least, the past 12 years. And, I'm one of those newer fans, even though that's half of Dan's ownership. All we know is misery and pain. All we knew, whether it's, the consecutive losses, no playoffs, no championships, the rotation of players, the rotation of coaches, and then now we finally get the coup de grace, the masterpiece, the snake head has been finally chopped off from the poison, and he is gone. I was hyped. I was getting stuff ready for the video. I was getting stuff, together for our TikTok and our Instagram page, like just ready for it. I was like, as soon as the bell hits 12, I'm pressing post on anything, and I can't believe it's here. But I've got some sound bites, and Ed had pointed out earlier that within an hour of Josh being named new team owner, he had called in to the Burgundy and sold party over there at the Nationals bullpen park. He bought everyone there a beer. I mean, what's the last time a team owner, a team official has done that, saying, "Hey, everyone here, beer on me"? I don't know of any owner in any sports league that does that. Maybe Mark Cuban of the Mavericks, because he's a big publicity guy. But other than that, I can't name one.
I don't think I can name one either.
Yeah, Dan definitely wasn't doing that. Dan doesn't interact with fans at all. Josh Harris, he sits at the Sixers games. You'll see him courtside of the games, chopping up with fans, and he's not scared to interact with people. Dan is not a personable guy. He wasn't a guy that interacted with people at all. Very awkward guy. His biggest joke was the Happy Thanksgiving joke, so that kind of tells you what kind of guy that Dan Snyder was. But yeah, Josh Harris, man, I could see him. I mean, he'll be at the pep rally. He'll probably be taking pictures with fans, interacting with fans. So this is just a different kind of owner that we're gonna get used to. But that's super cool, man. For him to do that on his first day on the job of being an owner, man, that's awesome.
I mean, literally within the first hour and a half, here, drop $2,000 on beer for everyone. Dan had been like, charge him 3 times and it's expired. He was like, nah, everyone gets a beer. And I mean, it's great. That's already, giving you a fresh start, giving you a look of, hey, he cares about the fans. He wants fans to be happy. At his press conference, he'll have one officially tomorrow for the training camp prep rally, which we all know what it's going to turn into. But during his about 15, 20-minute press conference here earlier today, he said, it's a new era of Washington football. It's time to get to work. That's those 10, 12 words of that soundbite alone is going to be his entire tenure within the first year of just it's time to get to work. He said that his first 3 priorities with himself and the group are all football related, improving the fan experience and getting involved in the community. Dan didn't give a damn about the community. He said, "Nah, I'm taking all your money. I want all your tax money, and I'm going to withhold money from your taxes. I'm taking the money. I'm saying, nah, you ain't getting this money back." Harris wants to be in the community. He wants people to care. He wants what's best for this team. He, like he said, he was a fan of Washington, the Redskins at the time when he was a kid and his teenage years and his younger adult life. And here he is, the team owner of the team he loved, being able to change what's going on. I think it's great.
Oh yeah, 110%. Yeah, he grew up being a fan of the team. He's growing up watching sports, buying beer for the fans, and not, you go from Dan Snyder, who was frauding the NFL at a ticket sales, $11 million, to somebody who's already, putting money into the team and money into the fans because he wants the community to be involved in holding a pep rally. So I got a notification about the name that it possibly may change. I don't know how true that is, but somebody just said that there's a pretty good chance Josh Harris could change the team name as a way to erase the Snyder legacy. That came out from ESPN on Bleacher Report 36 minutes ago. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Personally, the name, if he decides to change it, it is what it is on that. I was just exhausted with the name change stuff because everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be Red Wolves, it's gonna be this and that. But we'll see what happens with that. But either way, I'm excited. I'm backing Josh Harris, whatever he decides to do.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think?
I think if he changes the name, I don't know if it's gonna go back to Washington football team. I would doubt it. I wouldn't mind it going to either Washington Warriors or Washington Red Hogs, to honor the 80s and 90s offensive line. But I also heard like he can't change the name within 4 years or something like that. Yeah, I don't know if it's true. But if he does, I just hope he chooses one of those two names. But to be honest, I'm tired of the name changing.
Yeah.
Know?
There we go. Yeah, I think that 4-year window of, you just changed your name, you got to let this stick for, bank reasons, proprietary right reasons, ownership rights, and all that. I think it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, those names, the Red Wolves, Wolves in general, maybe he's lucky enough to change it back to Redskins. I doubt it in this climate of society, and
That would be awesome.
I'm not gonna get into that. I can go on a whole rant about that, but that's another topic for another day. I don't think they would let him personally. But it's just a weird time. I never thought I'd see the day. I don't think any of us thought we would have seen the day in 100 years would have gone by, and somehow Dan would have still been owner, and he is gone. But there's two good reasons. A, he's gone. B, he's being slapped with a $60 million fine. For those who don't know, the Mary Jo White investigation details are slowly coming out. It's only taken us 19 months to learn these details. But he's being slapped with a $60 million fine because of those findings. He did withheld tax money and tax revenue from the city itself, $10 million to be exact. And it was found that he was harassing a female employee within the facility. I think there will be more to come out from that, but it's guaranteed there's at least one. There's probably at least 5 more that they will find. So $60 million right there. And the reason why it took so long is from Mary Jo White herself. Both Mr. SNYDER and the club failed to cooperate, which extended the investigation and contributed to the inability to determine the total revenue, impromptly shielded, and SNYDER's knowledge of and participation in the scheme. We all knew he was going to withhold anything and everything that he could. He didn't want it. He didn't want nothing to come out. He wanted to be that place like the Pentagon. Nothing comes in, nothing comes out. And now his dumbass is out of here for good. I think we're all just happy to see him go.
Oh,
good.
Yeah, it's a holiday. July 20th is a holiday. But yeah, they came up with that Washington Post article a couple years ago when they talked about harassment at the workplace, and he made somebody dance like a cheerleader or something, like some guy made him dance like a cheerleader, and then Larry Michael harassing a woman and making them feel uncomfortable at the workplace, and the whole cheerleader scandal. I mean, there's so many things to name that we can name about that Dan Snyder has done terrible things. So we could be on here all day talking about that. But yeah, once again, I mean, we're just super excited, and for his last thing of being a commander or a part of the organization, he gets a $60 million fine. Is definitely. I'm not surprised that's the last thing we see from Dan Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, a $6 billion payday isn't gonna hurt when you get a $60 million fine. You're like, here's 5 pennies. That should be enough. But I mean, it's crazy. Like you said, we could be here all night talking about the countless allegations, the countless scandals, the 20+ years of just bad luck he brings. But it's gone. I'm gonna sweep it under the rug and look forward to training camp, which I think we report to next Monday, if I believe right, being the 24th. If not, we go the 31st. I think it's the 24th.
Is it the 24th? I thought it was the 27th.
27th.
Yeah, the first day of practice is the 27th. The rookies report tomorrow.
Okay.
Then, they report tomorrow. Huh.
Yep. Which is good, because that ties right into what we're going to talk about is rookie expectations going into training camp and the season. One thing that worries me before we even get to training camp is that our first-round pick, corner Emmanuel Forbes, and our second-round pick, Quan Martin, have still yet to sign their rookie contracts.
That's not good.
When our 5 other draft picks, the 2 O-line, the linebacker, the edge rusher, and our running back have all signed their contracts, and the 2 guys who will probably make the most impact out of those 7 have yet to sign.
Maybe there's something going on, at inside. Maybe there's something going on that we don't know about. Us fans don't know about it. the reporters don't know about it. Maybe they've just kept it quiet so that way nobody gets, like freaked out or anything. But I think sooner or later, they'll end up signing. We'll be good to go. Hopefully they sign before preseason game 1 against the Browns. So we'll see.
Yeah. And what do you think about them not signing yet?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think they will get a deal done. I think they're gonna get it done before training camp. I don't know why. I've seen some other teams have signed their deals. I think there's a couple. I mean, some other players have signed their rookie deals. I think there's a couple quarterbacks that haven't signed yet, like Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. I'm not sure if they signed their deals yet. But yeah, I think they'll get something done soon. I think they'll get it done before they start playing, for sure. But I'm not too worried about it. They're pretty professional about signing guys like John Allen. They got his deal done.
Yeah.
He wasn't a rookie, but they got his extension done before training camp. Deron Payne, they got him done. They got his extension done pretty quickly. So guys that they plan on keeping, they usually get deals done with those guys. Logan Thomas too.
Yep.
I know those guys aren't rookies, but Ron Rivera's done a pretty good job of making sure that nobody's holding out or missing training camp or getting fined for missing training camp. Just different. He's done a good job of not having a lot of controversy or disagreements in contracts, for sure. I think the only guy that I don't think anybody that's really had like that Brandon Sheriff maybe with franchise tagging him, but that's about it. And he got paid pretty well so from those franchise tags, and that's really so. I think if I have to give Ron Rivera credit, I think he's done a good job with getting guys signed.
Yeah, like you said, John Allen, Deron Payne this past year, my boy Terry McLaurin last year.
Oh yeah.
Got all their deals done. It's just interesting that your first and second round picks you haven't signed, but your 7th round running back, your 6th round linebacker, 6th round running back, 7th round linebacker, your 5th, your 4th and 5th round O line and D line, your 3rd round guard you've signed, pretty quickly out the draft, and here we are, like you said, a week out from training camp, and nothing's happening. I think part of it is probably just waiting on ownership, with financial situation and who's got to pay what fines and how that might go. But it did worry me just a tad bit. Like you said, Ron does great with contracts. But I thought that of all people who would have gotten their contracts first, I thought it would be Forbes and Martin, since they'll be the ones on the field the most. That could just be me just being a complete airhead with money. That's besides the point. But yeah, let's get into these rookies. Like I said, Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, Braden Daniels, Ricky Stromberg, Andre Jones Jr., KJ Henry, and Chris Rodriguez, all are 2023 rookies. What are y'all's expectations for those, especially, who's your key player that you say he'll be on the field for majority of the snaps? He will be our impact player. Ed, I'll have you go first.
I think Forbes and Quan Martin are definitely gonna get a lot of playing time. Braden Daniels, I think he's gonna be behind. He's gonna be a swing tackle, so he'll be behind Charles Leno and Andrew Wiley. I don't think he's gonna get a lot of playing. Cornelius Lucas, I think he'll be above Braden Daniels as well. Braden Daniels is kind of a project player. Still has to gain some weight, gain some muscle and strength as well. So I think he's gonna be learning, and kind of like a redshirt kind of year. Kind of Ricky Stromberg too. I don't know if he'll play a lot. Nick Gates. He's been injured for the past 2 seasons. So Ricky Stromberg may have to step up and be ready for his rookie season and get some snaps and play. But of course, you're looking at your 1st round pick in Forbes. You're looking at your 2nd round pick in Quan Martin. You're looking at those guys to really contribute. They both have had really good OTAs, really good mini camps. They both have had a lot of deflections. Quan Martin's had a good amount of deflections. They've been flying around. So I've heard nothing but good things. Rookie minicamp, Forbes looked good. I know it was against, backup quarterbacks or 3rd string, 4th string practice draw quarterbacks like Tim DeMorat, and against, rookie wide receivers, but he showed up and he showed out. Minicamp, he had a deflection against Terry, had a deflection against Jahan Dotson. So coaches have said that he's looked really, really good, that he's been turning heads, that he's looked really freaking good, and he's got interceptions. He's been really, really aggressive out there too, and that's what you want to see from Forbes. They got him to force interceptions and make plays, and that's what we're looking for from him. Quan Martin, he should be a chess piece. Ron Rivera talks about that Buffalo nickel spot all the time.
Yep.
That hybrid safety, corner, linebacker kind of guy, and I think Quan Martin can certainly do it. He can play in the slot too. That's what they need. They need a slot cornerback, And I think Quan Martin's going to step up and do this. Quan Martin's an elite athlete, 42-inch vertical leap. So he's going to bring some speed and athleticism to the team. So I'm excited for Quan Martin. He can tackle, he can cover, he can run, and we need that. We need that versatility from the cornerback and safety position. I think Quan Martin's certainly going to bring that. But Forbes, I'm excited for Forbes. A lot of people didn't like the pick at first because Christian Gonzalez was available. So I understand people being upset. I get it. Kind of the same thing with Jahan Dotson last year. But I'm going to trust the process. Jahan Dotson worked out. So I trust their evaluation of Emmanuel Forbes as well.
Chris?
I'll admit, I was one of those guys that did not like us picking Emmanuel Forbes at all. I really didn't. I thought we should have went.
2, 3, 2, 1. All right. Chris?
All right. So at first, wasn't a big fan of Emmanuel Forbes, of us drafting him. Thought we should have went with Christian Gonzalez. He was a big name. But then there was 2 reasons why I like him, or actually 3 reasons I like Emmanuel Forbes now. Because 1, I looked at his stats from when he was in college. Excellent stats, I will say, without a doubt, excellent stats. Number 2 is that I heard, he was batting passes down from Jahan and Terry. And number 3, it's not really a reason I like him, but it's also a reason I heard is that I saw a video of Ron Rivera saying if Emmanuel Forbes is up there at 16, we are going to take him. Now, gotta remember, Emmanuel Forbes, wasn't he predicted to be like a late first round, early second round pick?
Yeah.
So and he's doing that in minicamp. Sounds like we have a good guy on our hand. Now, Quan Martin, I've seen some highlights. He seems like a ball hawk, The question is, with Washington picking him up, are they going to move on from Cam Curl and not re-sign him come, next offseason or later on the season? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think they'll move on from Cam Curl. I think stats wise, when we had Cam Curl, we were winning games without him. We went on that 5-game losing streak without Cam Curl, and then with him, we were winning games. I think there was a bit of a disconnect with the defense, because he was that play caller on the defense. He was that quarterback on the defense, and the stat shows. I think if anyone, I think our younger guys like Percy Butler or even Ben St. Just. I think if you draft a safety corner, combo in the second, it's probably one of your other guys that are, injured, maybe not on the field as much, injuries, or you just don't like seeing on the field as much. You'll like I said, that Buffalo nickel role. Essentially what Landon Collins was for us the tail end of his career here at Washington, back in 2020, was that Buffalo nickel hybrid linebacker that Quan I think will definitely be. And I think with him having that, it'll give Jamin Davis a bit of effort to come forward versus go back in coverage. Not to say that he was bad, but you don't normally have your linebacker go into coverage. You want them more towards the middle and, near D-line. So I don't think they'll go from Cam Curl. If anyone, they'll pay Curl first, I think. But I agree with you guys. Quan Martin and Forbes are going to be your big ones. I think Chris Rodriguez will have a decent role in this offense, whether it's special teams or whether it's, our third down back, because, B-Rob and Gibson, Jonathan Williams is still on the roster, Jared Patterson's still on the roster. But they saw something in Rodriguez to get him in the 6 out of Kentucky that, if it was just for a depth piece, I don't think you would have wasted a 6th-round pick on him. People said the same thing about, Terry McLaurin. When we draft him, he's just going to be, depth piece. He's just going to be this, another receiver on the field. And he's the number one guy on the, your number one target on offense. He's, your franchise guy. So I think Chris Rodriguez might play it, a small factor. He won't be our number 2 running back or your go-to running back, that's going to be Robinson and Gibson. But if you get him returning punts and have Gibson returning, kicks, see what he's got, see how shifty he is, see, how fast can he, reverse field, that type of thing. I think Forbes will probably play at least 10 games. At a minimum, he'll play 10 games. I think Quan will have the same thing. Other than that, I think it'll be up to who we already have on the roster. And even some of the guys we went undrafted, Kaz Allen, Tinsley, those receivers we picked up undrafted who looked great in minicamp, looked great at OTAs. Kaz Allen got hurt. But from all accounts, they were impressing coaches. They were impressing EB and Ron. So I think, some of those undrafted guys might do well. Even Tim DeMorat, the QB, he'll probably – my prediction is we'll have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. It'll be Jacoby, Sam, and DeMorat. That's my prediction right now. Who do you think will have a bigger impact, Quan or Forbes?
I gotta say Emmanuel Forbes on this one. I really do, because from the reports I've seen and the comparisons I have seen. Now, the comparisons may or may not shock a lot of people, but I heard he's like a Trayvon Diggs, can ball hawk the ball. Yeah, Trayvon might give up big yards, but I heard he's like a better version of Trayvon, like getting that ball hawk, knocking the ball down, everything like that. So, maybe he is that type of guy. Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard not to go with Forbes too. So I'm gonna go with Forbes too. Another guy that I think you guys brought him up too, KJ Henry is an interesting prospect too, behind Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I think he provides some explosiveness behind those guys. But yeah, I would go with Forbes too, man. We need takeaways. Like last year, we were so bad at forcing turnovers. We were so bad at getting interceptions. We didn't do that until really the second half of the year when we started winning more games. Like Derek Forrest was the only guy that we could rely on to, force a fumble or get an interception. Ben St. Juice, he hasn't got an interception yet in his career. Almost had a couple, but there were some pass interferences that took him away. Don't agree with those calls, but it is what it is on that. Kendall Fuller got a couple towards the end of the year. Dak Prescott threw the ball right to him. And he got a pick 6 against the Texans. But yeah, we do need more guys that can take the ball away. And Forbes is certainly a guy that does that. Like in college, he was a pick 6 machine, an interception machine. So if we can get that and flip the field and make it easier for our offense, that's huge. So when we started getting turnovers, that's when we started winning games last year. That's how we beat the Eagles. That's how we beat the Falcons. The last play of the game, we got an interception against the Falcons. We won that game. The Bears, we got an interception. John Allen tipped the pass up. We got an interception. So that's a huge part of what Ron Rivera is looking for. He was looking for guys that take the ball away. Quan Martin and Forbes, they do that. So I think Forbes is the guy that certainly can do that. And he called out Devontae Smith from the Eagles. So I'm looking for that matchup. That's gonna be a fun matchup. But we definitely need corners that can stay healthy and take the ball. And I think Forbes can certainly do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with both of y'all with Forbes. I think Quan Martin, like I said earlier, and like you guys stated, will have a big impact. The fact that Devontae Smith and Emmanuel Forbes are kind of built similarly, these tall, lengthy, skinnier guys will probably match up well. I think Devontae might have him beat a little bit on speed. The fact that he kind of got, I don't want to say burned in training camp because it's two-hand touch football.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Devontae, if I remember correctly, ran a 4.55, 40, somewhere in that range. I don't think it was too fast, but it wasn't like a 4.8.
Yeah, something like that.
But I think Forbes ran something similar, or maybe a 4.6. Either way, I think Devontae might have him slightly beat, but I think for what his role is going to be, I think he'll do great. KJ Henry, going to be interesting. I think he might play a role here and there on special teams as, kicking units and punting off. But if Chase or Sweat's not producing or they get injured, I'm okay with KJ Henry coming in and giving a little bit of youth and explosiveness to that D line. I just wish we didn't have so much depth at the D tackle position. As weird as that is, because you have Obadi, you have Ridgeway, you have KJ Henry. He picked up like three guys in, undrafted free agency, and he picked another one up in free. Like we picked up like 40 tackles in the last year on top of guys who we already had. So it's going to be interesting. I hope Henry, gets a fair shot during training camp, even if it's just against the twos, to see what he's got. But yeah, I go Forbes, and Martin would be the close second. Caleb or Chris, you were itching to say something to me since I said D line.
Okay, so you bring up KJ Henry. Now, I was talking to one of my friends. He was saying that if Chase Young or Montez Sweat does not produce this year, do you think KJ Henry is going to be one of their replacements? I honestly say yes, because yes, Chase Young was pretty much out the entire year last year till those last 3 games. But if Chase Young does not produce this year with that defensive line, then yes, go ahead, get rid of Chase Young. Like KJ Henry have the chance, because here's the thing. We saw it. All Washington fans saw it. The defense somewhat played better without Chase Young.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I kind of did.
Interesting. Ed, what do you think on that?
Well, the 2021 season, when he got injured, they did go on a streak. Part of it was that they did find their offensive identity. With Heineke, they were running the ball more. They were playing keep away. We beat Tom Brady. We just ran the clock. We ran time of possession. Gibson had a couple good games here and there. We weren't turning the ball over. But yeah, the defense was more sound. And then last year when William Jackson got hurt, the secondary looked better. So, did Chase Young learn anything while he was injured? Did he learn anything? Is he going to, improve on his moves, hand placement? Different things like that, get his explosiveness back. He just put out a workout video. We can't get too hyped on workout videos because, it's just practice. So he looked good in the workout. He looked healthy. So that's the one part about it. But can he play with his teammates? Is he not just trying to search for a sack? Because that year, there was a lot of times where he was running past the quarterback, him and Montez Sweat. It looked like they were kind of playing, I'm not going to say selfish, but they were looking for numbers. It looks like they were looking for sack numbers. And when he didn't play, it looked like, yes, they were playing more together. They were, running stunts, giving their bodies up for other guys, running their rush lanes together. So that's one thing he's definitely got to do when he comes back. But I do think they are better with him. If he hits his full potential that, pre-draft, now the generational talent thing, that's out the window right now. I don't think anybody's really saying that about him anymore. But can he be a 8-sack, 9-sack guy, get pressures, wreak havoc, force a fumble? Kind of the things that he did his rookie year. Can he get back to that at least? I think if he does that, we're a better team. Now did the defense play better? Yeah, I think they were just more, they played more together and they were more disciplined. I do agree with that part in 2021. But yeah, if Chase Young, if he reaches his full potential, man, this defense, this D-line, John Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Fedarian Mathis, even John Ridgeway, I think this can be a disgusting, nasty defensive line if Chase Young reaches like even half of his potential.
Yeah. Justin, Andrew, and I had said this on a previous episode. I forget if it was with Tony or if it was with Anthony Armstrong. We had last episode on. Saw that we had him on. But we said Chase or Sweat or both have to produce at least 8 or 9 sacks. If they, let's say, get 5 sacks within 6 games, great. If they give you 5 sacks all year, the writing might be on the wall, because Chase was rehabbing good. He gets to Von Miller's training camp last offseason, and then he's out for 13 games when he's projected to be back by week 8, week 9, and that they're added 5 more games. We allegedly think he, retweaked it, reactivated it when he was training with Von Miller. or else he would have been back week 8, week 9, a little bit earlier. But being it's both of their contract years, and then you have Phil Mathis, you drafted 2 years ago, a year ago. You picked up KJ Henry, you picked up John Ridgway, you picked up Efe Obada. You had to pick up guys to replace that. I think they've got to produce. If they have a combined 12 sacks, 6-6, 7-5, writings on the wall. If they have a combined 20 sacks, great. Let's see how this money situation looks. I think Chase was always a good guy on the sidelines, giving advice, keeping them hyped, keeping them energized. But he just, like Ed said, his technique, his hand placement, his ability just to see the quarterback. If he was going to go train with someone, have him go train with a TJ Watt. Have him go train with a JJ Watt. Have him go train with his college teammate, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick. Like someone who's gone to the quarterback effectively each of their careers. Hell, Hassan Reddick had 10 sacks last season as Philly's outside linebacker? If a linebacker's going to use 10 sacks, saying something. TJ Watt plays linebacker and edge, tied the sack record. Saying something. And then Von Miller was already hurt this season anyways. Something didn't click when you have a hurt older edge with a hurt younger edge, and now that younger edge is out even longer, even though he was on pace before he trained. That was our thing. Yeah, our depth is crazy. It's weird. It's weird, but it's crazy. Ridgway, Obada, Phil Mathis, he picked up the second round in the 2022 draft. I just hope, we produce. If Payne has a similar season, if John Allen has a good season, this could get back to a top 10 defensive, team we had in 2020. If not, something's got to change, and it might not be Jack. It might be Jack Del Rio. It might not be. But we'll see, because this defense is built for a 4-3. If we switched, I don't know who you would replace as a linebacker, because you would have John Allen, Phil Mathis, Jerron Payne, Ridgway as your D tackle depth. And we've already got a good depth anyways. You don't need just one D tackle, you need two. Something's got to give. Chase Young, I think, is going to be that X factor on defense. If he produces, great. If not, what do you do with that? The reports have said they're listening to trade talks. They're not going to, really listen to them, but there's noise. We'll have to see, because his trade stock is a bit odd coming into the season.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Let's see. I don't know. What do you do if both those guys don't do well? Of course, if I'm not mistaken, I think Montez Sweat had 8 sacks last year.
8 sacks,
I think. Have anywhere from 8 to 9.5 sacks. You can keep them, I believe. Now, you talk about if both those guys have 12 sacks combined through the whole year, then yeah, the writing is on the wall. But if they both have 20 combined sacks, then yeah, you can keep them. You work out the money if they both do good,
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Oh, my bad.
My bad. One more. Because we both saw Jerron Payne and Jonathan Allen's payday. So how do you divide, that money in half?
Yeah. Ed, what do you think? Going to a contract year for Chase and Sweat, how do you think they are supposed to produce versus what they're looking like?
Yeah, it's tough as far as trades. I feel like if they're going to trade Chase Young, then it's something that they Definitely should have did before the trade deadline, but I'm happy they didn't. Now they didn't pick up the 5th-year option. I don't think Ron and Chase really see eye to eye off the field, to be honest. But yeah, it's a big year for both these guys. Yeah, Montez has had 8 sacks, 7 sacks, 9 sacks 1 year, 5 sacks 1 year. He got injured. But yeah, for these guys to get another contract, I don't know how Chase feels about his 5th-year option being declined. I don't know if Ron is back next year, which I don't know. I don't know if Josh Harris really wants to bring Ron back unless they make the playoffs. I don't know how much Chase wants to still play for Ron Rivera unless this year goes really, really well. Then I think it's possible, but kind of just seeing how Chase has reacted to certain things and kind of went about certain things, the whole OTA things. I don't really get too much in him not going to OTAs,
Right.
but I do think Ron wasn't really happy about him not being there. And I do think some of that did contribute into him not picking up his 5th-year option. So that's a factor right there. But Montez Sweat, I think if he has a good year, gives you like 8 or 9 sacks, I think that's a guy that they definitely want to bring back. But Chase Young, he has to really show out. He has to show out, and he definitely has to show that maturity. Yes, he's done a great job on the sidelines. He's done a great job, cheering for the guys and pushing the guys and whatnot. But you just got to see the consistency from him. And the same thing with Montez Sweat too. So it's up in there. They're both really good players, but they're definitely going to demand a lot of money. Is the organization or is the new owner going to be willing to pay them what they want? And of course, they got to show up too. So Chase, I don't know where we're going to get from him this year because it has been inconsistent. His rookie year was good, his second year wasn't good, and then he was injured. So it's just up in the air with what we're going to get from Chase Young. I think he's going to have a solid year, but is it going to be good enough to get a big contract that he's looking for? So, and would you franchise tag him? I don't know if you want to go down that route because if you franchise tag him, I want to say it's about 17. I was looking at one thing where it might be like 20, 24 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's like an 18 to 22 price range.
Yeah. So if he has a good year, I don't know if you want to get into the franchise tag thing again, like you have in the past with Sheriff and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, man. I don't have an answer right now. It's really you just gotta wait and see how these guys play, man. This is a big year for both these guys. Both these guys are gonna be battling for a contract. You already paid Deron, you already paid John. So are you gonna pay another D-line big money? You look at the Niners, they had to make a decision too. So they had to trade one of their guys. And they had a great defensive line. Awesome defensive line. Their defensive line is what we're trying to be, and I think we have the potential to be that good as their D line. So it's going to be tough to pay these guys. It might have to just be one or the other.
Yeah, because we're going to have a few guys up for contracts. Like I said,
yeah, Cameron Curl.
Cam Curl. You're going to have Kendall Fuller coming off his last year.
Yeah.
You're going to have, I think, Gibson coming off his rookie contract, Sweat, Chase.
Yeah, Jamin Davis's 5th-year option is coming up too. They might decline that.
Jamin Davis, Jamin Davis, 3rd year, his 5th-year option. Missing, I think St. Juice is coming up on his.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I mean, you've got, I forget what the stat was. We had like 11, 12, 13 guys. Whether it's 5th-year options, new contracts, expiring contracts, all on the books. We're really only going to have like, 50, 60-ish. I don't even think it's that high. $40-ish million in cap space. If we're lucky, it's 40.
Right.
Right now, we're sitting at like 9.
Now, quick question for the both of you. I think they should have picked up Chase Young's 5th-year option to use it as like a kind of like a 4th year, even though it would have been his like 5th year in the league.
Right.
But since he was injured, do you guys think they should have picked up his 5th-year option to kind of use it like a 4th year?
It's a tough one, man. There's so many ways you can look at it because he didn't play up to expectations in 2021, and he was injured, and was he doing the things that the coaching staff was asking him to do? Like I'm not at practice, so I don't know. And like I said, who cares about OTAs? But I think Ron Rivera cares because he's an old school coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the whole thing about Chase saying that he was doing Family Feud and doing commercials, and then you don't play well. So like, how did that go over with Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio? Did they like that? And the whole thing, because you guys brought it up earlier too, like he didn't play because they kept saying, "Oh, he's healthy, he's ready to go." It was because he finally played against the Niners, so he played against the Giants. They said he was ready to go, and then the game before the Giants too. I want to say they said he was healthy and that he was ready to go, but apparently it came down to his decision each time. It was a game time decision, and he said he wasn't ready to go. So how do they feel about that? How do they feel about him not being ready when doctors and the training staff said he was ready to go? So I think there's a lot of factors off the field with Chase Young. As far as picking it up, what was it going to be like $17 million for picking it up?
Something like that. Like, so I think it was like 17.4.
Yeah, 17.4. But yeah, and then they quickly picked up Montez Sweat's option. They quickly picked up De'Ron's. They picked up John's. So they picked up every D lineman's 5th-year option except for Chase Young. So I just think there's just something. There's more to it than just the football production for them with Ron Rivera and Chase. So, but yeah, I probably would have picked it up only because it would give you another year. Where now, if Chase goes crazy and he's pissed off and he plays mad, like Deron Payne did last year, he gets you 11, 12 sacks, then either you're gonna have to franchise tag him or another team's gonna pay him more than what you want to pay him. Like the Steelers, because Mike Tomlin already said he wanted to trade for him. There's a lot of teams that want to trade for Chase Young. So you could lose him for nothing. You could lose a guy that's a really good player that you spent the second pick of the draft on. And yes, I hate to bring up Justin Herbert because at the time nobody was like, "Oh, just draft Justin Herbert." Nobody said that, but it will go down in history that hey, you could have drafted this guy and that guy after Chase Young, and he never lived up to the generational hype. And you let him walk after 4 seasons, so it would be a huge disappointment for that to happen.
You bring up Justin Herbert. If Washington could have drafted him, if Washington had drafted Justin Herbert, not only would we probably wouldn't have gotten Sam Howell, but we probably wouldn't have been in our QB situation the way that we are in right now. Because look what Justin Herbert is doing out in Los Angeles. He hasn't gotten to the playoffs or was this his third, 4th year in the league, I believe?
3rd year.
4th. And he just now got to the playoffs last year. And yes, despite, blowing a big lead he is still without a shadow of a doubt one of the best quarterbacks I've seen in this game today.
Yeah, it's interesting because with hindsight being 2020, we can always say, we should have picked up Herbert, we could have picked up Tua, we could have picked up Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Tristan Wirfs, guys like that. But then if let's say they don't produce, you can say, oh, now they're in another QB situation where they draft a 1st-round, quarterback who they couldn't protect with the lack of weapons. Kirk Cousins, we let him walk. Didn't want to give him money, let him walk after, like you said, franchise tag. Dwayne Haskins got to rest his soul. Didn't work out because of the management and the coaching staff. Same thing with RG3. We didn't have enough protection. He got hurt. It just is carousel of QBs. Yes, could have Herbert or Jalen Hurts could have ended it. Yeah. We thought Dwayne was going to end it. Didn't happen. We thought Heineke was going to end it. Didn't happen. So we could keep going round and round about every draft pick we've ever made. That 2018, 2019 class where we drafted Sweat. We did trade back in the 1st to get him. Would we take him at 15 and just never trade back up to get someone else? Who knows? It gets interesting. It gets tricky when you try to mess with, the past. But I would I have picked up his 5th-year option? I would have said no, only because of injury. To me, he re-aggravated his ACL, MCL knee thing. But yeah, no OTAs and the training, that stuff is, not required. It's voluntary. But like Ed said, Ron's an old school coach. He wants all of his players there. He wants them producing. He wants them on the field. He wants them doing what they need to do to produce and help the team. When you're not there, for whatever the reason may be, if it's a family thing, all right, fine. But if you're not there because you either A, don't want to be, or B, you're not feeling it, that sends a different message. It would have been nice to have this extra year of, comfort on the cap space. But if we picked him up, would we have been able to pay Duran what we paid him? Would be able to pay for Jacoby? Would we be able to pay for, some of these rookies? Because we're going to make cuts, coming to training camp. We're going to go from 90 to 53, relatively soon. But I don't think I would have picked it up. I think having this little extra time to let him cook, because the same thing we did with Duran, even though we picked it up, he still felt like he had a chip on his shoulder to come in and produce and put up 11 sacks and got a contract. I'm hoping Chase is the same thing. If not, try and trade him.
Yeah.
And the whole Justin Herbert thing, like I said, that is hindsight, because like I said, nobody at the time was saying that they were going to take Justin Herbert at the time. But for him to walk after a contract, if he would have told me back in 2020 when we drafted Chase Young that, we wouldn't re-sign him after 4 years or pick up his 5th-year option, I'd be like, I wouldn't believe you at all. Especially with the hype that he came out with, the whole generational talent. Todd McShay said he was going to be better than both Bosa brothers. I mean, that was insane. I was excited. I was happy when we drafted Chase Young. I was so excited. And I still think he has the potential to be a really, really good player. But, this is a make or break year for his career and his season, in this season for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. This season is going to be tricky because not only is there new ownership, there's new an offensive coordinator, new starting corner and safety, new starting quarterback. A third of your offensive line is new between free agency and the draft. Like, there might be this season could be a complete wash because it's new ownership. He comes in, but then what would we say if we go 11-6 with the 5th seed in the wild card and we go win 2 playoff games? What do we say then? Oh, now we know what we have, or next year is really going to count. Things are going to get dicey. Things are going to get tricky. So I think this season is going to have more questions than answers. And I just hope that we don't go 5 and what was it? 5 and 5 and
5 and 12.
5 and 12. Thank you.
Yeah,
I can't do math.
Yeah.
My math ain't mathing. If we go 5 and 12, just gut the whole thing. Just send it all in the fire. But if you go 12 and 5, all right, now what do you keep? Because clearly you did something right. So yeah. I don't know. Ron going 7-9, 7-10, 8-1, and then jumping to 12 and 5 would be like, how did you build up to that? Where was this all along?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Things are gonna get dicey. Things are gonna get tricky. But I think all of us walking out, every Commanders fan, every Washington football fan can walk out knowing, as we wrap things up, that Dan Snyder is gone. A new era is here. The dark clouds have been lifted over and off DMV. Whether it's a new stadium, whether they upgrade RFK, whether they upgrade FedEx Field, I just hope A, we win some games. B, Sean Taylor gets an actual statue and memorial, because that is a foot long.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
He better get the respect he deserves, or we're gonna burn everything down. And Steve, we just have a clean slate. We can go into the season knowing Dan's gone. We got a good culture now, and we can just do things, the proper way, the old school Washington way of winning games and just being there for the community before Dan got here.
Yeah, no sewage coming out of the ceiling in FedEx Field. None of the Raptors falling down on Jalen Hurts and his leg and stuff like that. So
yeah, can't have that.
Yeah.
Hey man, that Jalen Hurts one, I kind of blame those on the fans.
The Eagles fans, yeah.
Them railings are held, from what my dad has told me, are held by clamps, that hold that stuff. So I can't blame that one on the fans.
Yeah. But at the same time, if that was Heineke, everyone would have been storming. One half would have been you, the other half would have been your hero, and then everyone would have been clotted down. That would have happened if it was the reverse. We would have found a way to break around would have found a way to break our own stadium if that happened. We were going to wrap things up. Like I said, Dan Snyder is gone, $60 million fine, but Josh Harris is owner of the team. We got our rookie predictions. We got what we think will happen with Chase Young, and kind of everything will kind of slide happy from there. Next week is the start of training camp. Like I said, rookies come in tomorrow. It'll be today when you guys, see this episode. So we'll see how things go. Chris, I can't say thank you enough for coming on within 3 hours notice. And
yeah, no problem, man.
I really appreciate you coming on. I wish Justin and Andrew were here, but Star was in line tonight. So we got a bit of a 3-man group versus our normal 4-man routine, but I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Like I said, I will tag you guys all in the posts and the videos coming out tomorrow. I'll tag you guys. So we'll share it with you guys. We'll share it with the friends. Anything y'all want to say before we wrap things up?
Let's just have a great season, and
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Hell's Good Manners. By Dan, Burgundy, and sold, man. It's exciting.
Yeah. Perfect. I mean, that's perfect way to say it. Burgundy and sold, guys. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe here on the video. Head over to Chris's channel over on YouTube and his Instagram. Go follow him over there. Go over to Ed Oliver's Instagram and YouTube. Go follow him over there. Support them like I know you guys will. All of our Burgundy ballers are great, and we know you guys will support. Shout out to Rio and Tony and all the Commanders fans out there, because we finally did it. The mission is over. The nightmares are over, as Fives would say, for all of you Star Wars fans out there. And yes, I am a Star Wars fan. The nightmares are finally over. SNYDER is gone. Burgundy and gold is now Burgundy and sold. Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, Mitchell Reyes. New owners, new day, new era. And all I can really say to that is y'all stay balling out there. We'll see y'all out there.